Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode and first for the year 2021. We've all heard the saying, silence is golden, but is it really? There is a time to speak and a time to be silent. We saw that in 2020, how prominent our collective voices were when it came to speaking up against injustice and loads more. Now, how do we encourage that in our personal lives so we can fight off depression, suicidal thoughts, volatile behaviors, and so much more? Well, join me in this conversation as we explore various ways we can help each other speak up and address the stigma against speaking up. I am so excited because I have incredible, amazing people up here discussing with me today. And it is my great pleasure to introduce them to you all. So I'm not going to do the introductions. I'm going to let them speak for themselves so you can hear from them. Okay?
My name is Wale, and I'm one of the people who will be speaking today. So it's nice to be here.
What's up, everybody? My name is Frank, and it's good to be here.
Everyone, Adima here, and I'm happy to be here today.
Hello, my name is Asher, and I'm just excited to have this opportunity to speak to everyone here.
Welcome. Thank you all for being here. It's quite incredible, and anyone that comes up here, I am quite honored to have you on, discussing about prominent things that are happening in our lives and in our society. And today's discussion is nothing different. So today we're discussing on a topic, silence isn't golden. And I know when I put that up, a lot of people were wondering, what do you mean silence isn't golden? Because the great adage says silence is golden. But we're here to let you know that silence isn't always golden. So we're just going to dive into the conversations. So come on. So we're in 2021. Hey, right? We all made it. Who's excited?
I'm excited.
So all we had to go through in 2020, 2021 has got to be that year. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're really hoping that this year would really make a difference.
I agree.
So excited about 2021 and all of the good things it's going to bring by God's grace. Like 2020 was hard. I felt like a lot of people got hit. Life, like left, right, and center. It was like nonstop, one thing to the other. But I'm very grateful to have made it this far.
Yeah, indeed. So how many people didn't like 2020? How many people loved 2020? Really? I think 2020 was incredible. I mean, I like to think of 2020 as a very good movie, a movie that has everything inside. You have the good, the bad, the suspense, everything, the love, the crying. 2020 was a movie. But what was most significant for me, 2020, I felt was like the year of the youth. Why I say that is because prominently two things that I can really speak up was the Black Lives Matter movement. And as we will have it, each and every one of us here are Nigerians, and we can attest and speak to the fact of the NSAS movement that happened. And it was very incredible to see young people come together. Like when I say it was the year of the youth, it really was. And I was so proud, to see that happen because we came together to fight for our voices, to fight for our future, and to fight for the generations of people that's going to come out, come after us. So what did you guys think about 2020 and the year of the youth?
I do agree with you. I feel like there was a lot of youth empowerment, and of course, the youth coming out to really have their voices heard. We did see a lot of things that we had never seen before. Aside from the pandemic being unprecedented, we did see a huge turnaround in how the Nigerian youths take care of business. They came out, they really voiced out how they felt. They were really a proponent of ending the entire SARS. That was like the first time I would see Nigerian youths coming together, sharing the same goal.
Right.
Everybody was like, really taking it seriously. And I felt like, it was going to happen at some point. I just didn't think it was going to happen in 2020, but it was going to happen at some point because enough was enough. And to be very frank with you, so many people have been victims of, the violence that was experienced for, a very long time. So it was only right for people to come out and express how they really felt. Even hearing some of the stories, like you were going to be moved and there was just no way you weren't going to lend your voice. I mean, you could lend your voice in different ways. You could do it through social media. You could do it through fundraising, spreading the word out, whatever way you felt comfortable doing it. But there was just no way you were going to just sit down and like fold your hands and not even, give a voice or lend a voice to the current state of events at that time.
I agree. And I know, Wale, you and I had discussions about the NSAS movement and how, because when we had conversations, I saw also how it impacted you and your fury for the whole situation that was happening with the Nigerian government and so much more. Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me here is that with the NSARS movement, just like Adima was saying, it was the only time the Nigerian youths actually spoke in unison.
Yes.
Like, the Bible says, two can't work together except they agree. So that unison actually, sparked a lot of volume, and then the whole world actually heard their voice. I'm really glad that they had that platform. They stood together. They were very organized, and honestly, I'm gonna be very frank. I feel like I've never seen that level of organization in Nigeria. There was like a lot of food going around for people to eat, and I saw a video earlier, and it said that a homeless man said he felt like he was at home because people were sleeping on the street, and he just felt more comfortable. He didn't feel like it was crazy and all this kind of thing. So I just feel like the youths can do a lot more, and this is
Definitely.
the new normal. Let me put it that way. A new time when we can actually speak, and then the government will listen. So even though personally, I think some of the narrative is being, changed here and there, bro, they know what we're capable of now. And then moving forward, I'm sure we can always put this to good use to elect, people we want and not people we're forced to have in power or, things like that. So I think that's my take on it for right now.
I think that's awesome. Frankie, can we expect to see you in the Senate House soon in Nigeria? Like we need more of us young people, being there and making changes. Like we need it.
I hate to disappoint you, but no, that's not to say that it's such a terrible thing, but I see making in Nigeria as regards politics, basically, is beyond, looking at fresh blood or some young guy or somebody who seems like he's got it all. It is some sort of a calling. Like you have to have that servant leader mentality. Get in there. I'm not saying that I don't have that, but when it comes to making policies, I rather support from where I am, or even if I'm in Nigeria, but to undertake that leadership position, and with all the politics involved and the dirty tricks and all of that, I don't think that's me at all. So yeah, I'm not gonna run. Now, talking about 2020 in retrospect, like we were just looking at different things, issues, stuff that happened. I'm gonna look at it from here, right? So 2020 started off like every other year. It seemed like it was promising. I'm pretty sure a lot of people made resolutions, reservations, new ideas and concepts and stuff. But then we can all agree that things kind of like spiraled out of control. And looking at the emotions, like what has happened here in America, 2020, we learned about how people could connect to the rest of the world without actually moving an inch from their
Right.
house. Like it's not like it's not been there. It's been there, but you know, it was like it's not there, but it's there. But 2020 kind of like the internet indeed is a global village, and um, apparently people didn't quite utilize that aspect as much until 2020 happened.
Right.
So yeah, that's one. Then two, we also saw what happened in the elections. Um, you know, I've never, before I came to this country, actually, I have never seen America this divided.
Mm.
You know, and quite frankly, it's a reflection on the rest of the world. You know, what can happen when people actually have one mindset and disagree at the same time, because it's not like one person against one person. Is actually a group of people with a different mindset against a certain group of people with a different mindset. And then finally, another thing was that the corona virus, it just shows us how humanity can actually be wiped out just like this. Like
Right.
those are the days where wars are fought with nuclear weapons, guns, and knives and stuff. Right now, it's basically, you know, biology, just infection, and that's it. Like this disease put the entire universe on a standstill. Like
Sure
everybody
did.
felt like for real. So I'm looking at all of these things, and it creates a different emotion for me. And the emotion is simple. What next after this? I'm thinking in my mind, oh my God, like, okay, so you're seriously praying for a life partner, but have you thought about what could happen the next minute? People are married, they don't have kids, they really want to have kids. So what could happen? Like, it's crazy. I'm just stuck in this motion, like, okay, how can we figure this thing out? So for me, I can't really put words to it, but I think 2020 was a roller coaster, and it messed with my emotions seriously from this point of view. Like I saw things firsthand, and that's it for me. Like it's just I can't fully explain it, but it was a very emotional year for me.
Yeah, I think everyone can attest to that. That we 2020 came with a whole lot of things, and everyone has different experiences to it. But picking back on what you said about the internet, yes, 2020 we saw the power of social media. Like you didn't even have to be there. You didn't have to be there to be able to make a change. You could do that in wherever country that you were located at. And I think that was very important and prominent. And one of the things that really got to me was the fact that in Nigeria, there actually was a bill that was passed to kind of like reduce how much of social media that we use and is projected in Nigeria. So Asher, I know we're all millennials here, but could you speak a little bit to, because everybody knows there are pros and cons to social media. Some people use social media wrongly, some people use it for actual good. So do you think social media is that damaging to a country that there has to be that reduction or that legislation of how we're using social media?
It can be damaging. In my opinion, I feel like social media can be a very beneficial tool, like especially in times like this, like especially during like the Black Lives Matter movement. I had like a lot of friends that people that I really didn't expect to be like outspoken about political issues and things like that. I saw like them using Instagram, having posts about it, like the we are black men, we are black women trends. I feel like using social media can really bring awareness to certain situations like this. So although you anything that isn't regulated can be damaging to a human. So I just feel like you just need to know when to stop and how often to use it.
Definitely, I agree. And I like that this topic, silence isn't golden, is the first topic that we're going with for the year. I think it's a trendsetter. We started, how 2020 was, we were able to have our voices heard. we spoke up, and a lot of things changed. We may not have changed to the way that we wanted it, but at least we made some noise, and that was important. And so this year, I want us to, more young people, to be able to translate that in our personal lives rather than more of a social voice. Like, we have a lot of people still who are not able to speak up. We have people suffering, people in depression, people having suicidal thoughts, people acting out because their voices are not being heard, or whatnot. So Edima, I'm going to ask you, how can we translate that power that we had in 2020 into our personal lives as we move forward? Why is it important for us to speak up, get the help that we need?
Important for us to speak up for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I think for starters, finding those people you can actually speak to first is what matters first, especially because if you're introverted, it's going to be very challenging for you to just want to speak up, express yourself, or have your voice heard. And it might also be something that you find, oh my God, I can't do this. So I think first of all, you would need to surround yourself with people that you're close with, or people that you think would lend you that listening ear, and then you could start from there. And it's very important for people to find their voice. At least for me, I am learning to find my voice. I am not someone that really speaks sometimes, even though like what I may be going through may be like killing me inside, or even when I don't like some things, it might be hard for me to talk. But more recently, as I grow and as I learn a couple of things, I'm learning to speak up more, have my voice heard, because it's better for you to have your voice heard. And of course, in a good way. You're not gonna go crazy about it, but in a good way. You're gonna try to just let that person know, oh, this is how I feel about this, or oh, I really need to talk. I've been going through difficult times. I need to speak to someone, before you get to a very, very challenging place that it becomes hard for you to seek that help that you need.
I agree. Wally, why is it important for us to truly express our pain and be vulnerable when we're seeking help? Because I know there are some people who will seek help or look for help outside, but they're just giving you surface information, but they're not actually delving into what actually is the root cause of their problem. Why is it important for us to really be vulnerable and be honest with ourselves where we're seeking this help?
I think it's very important because, the more you bottle things up, the more it eats you up, a lot more. And I'm talking from experience. So there was a time I was going through a lot of stuff, and I was very depressed, and I was getting to a point of self-destruction. I was towing that line, and I just kept thinking, I could handle this myself. But all I needed was therapy, speaking to somebody, getting a counselor that could help pull me out. So I feel like what stuff like that does for you is that you share the burden, and then it helps you just see the light at the end of the tunnel. Because as human beings, when we go through several or different things, we have the ability to either come out of it or, believe what we think is, the negative part of that thing. So speaking from experience, every time I go through stuff and I don't speak up, I keep it to myself. I'm usually always moody. I'm not as happy as I should be. And I feel like it affects my day-to-day activities,
Right.
Relationships with people that matter. It affects how I communicate, because I tend to be a lot more abrupt in my communication. It affects how I see things. So it's just a whole perspective of different things. So for example, in no particular order, so I think there was this time I was going through a lot that relates to identity. I was trying to find myself, and I didn't know. I just felt like I was coasting through life at this point in time, and I honestly didn't know what to talk to. I just thought whatever I did, at every point in time was like, oh, I was putting a lot of effort and I wasn't getting results. But overall, all I needed to do was, just come to terms with the fact that it's actually might not be my problem or my issue. This may be. It might be a systemic thing, probably because I'm Black, or it might be a thing where I'm not, following some principles. I spoke to my pastor, and he recommended some books. I read those books, and honestly, it was a eye-opening thing for me. I came to the realization of the fact that speaking up and talking to people that matter, just like Edima was saying, will take you from point A to point B. Not
Definitely.
because those people have gone through what you've gone through, but because they have words that will pull you through. So they might not necessarily have the experience to, you know, help channel the energy to where you want to be, but just those words and just comforting things that helps them say, oh, we are with you, that kind of thing will, you know, help a lot. And I think another reason why it's important to express your pain is because it might be therapeutic, actually. And I think this kind of like underscores the need to not be self-destructive, just like I said earlier. And I think the last point here I'll say is speaking up and expressing your pain will help you know what other people have been through also, because you might think what you're going through is like the worst of the worst. And if you hear somebody else's story, you're like, wow, this person has been through a lot more. And then you have a reason to give thanks. Like, hey, I mean, what I'm going through is not up to half of what this person has been through. So, I mean, I can just always, I mean, I should be thankful regardless. So that's what I can think of right now. So yeah.
I agree. Asher, why do you think it's easier for people to judge than have compassion? Because I've noticed, like, I know that people tend to have certain type of attitudes and stuff, and that it could actually, you know, deter you away from actually wanting to get closer to people. And I know people go through a lot, and sometimes that whatever they go through, they project it onto others by being mean or this or that. And it's very easy for us to judge rather than have compassion. Why do you think that is? We have a lot more judgment than compassion.
What I would have to say about it sucks, but to be honest, we live in a very judgmental society. Like, you see somebody on the street and you're already making premeditated judgments about them, like, oh, what they've been, but you, without knowing like what they've been through. It's easier to judge somebody than go into detail and listen to about their past and things like that. So I just feel like, because it's so easy to judge them instead of actually like listening and taking time to get to know the person, that's why people judge so much, in my opinion.
There's one thing I like to do. I like to put myself in people's shoes. So there was a job that I was in, and I had this boss who was quite mean to me. I mean, there were some times that she was good, and for the most part, she was just mean. But there was a time we're having a conversation, and then she said something that made me try to see her in a different light. She said, I know I am not the best person. I don't have the best personality. I know I say things I shouldn't say, do things that I shouldn't do. And this is my prayer all the time. I ask God, help me, help me, help me. And then I was like, so she knows she's mean. She knows she always says the wrong things, and just could get someone to that point where like, oh my God. But she was honest with herself because she knew who she was, and she knew also that she needed help. So I tried. From then on, I was like, you know what, God, I know she's trying as a human being, and I'm trying to put myself in her situation and not try to judge or any of that stuff. But it's really hard sometimes to just not judge people. It's easier to judge than have compassion. But I think no matter how mean a person can be or who they are, compassion is quite key for our happiness. It doesn't necessarily have to be for them, but by our actions and by us, you know, meeting them with love, I think that could also help change stuff. So I'm going to ask you, Frankie. So I was listening to a couple of ladies, and they were talking about how the cancel culture originated from the church, where if you are a teenager with pregnant, and or you're having children out of wedlock, you're counseled. Everything, you're counseled. Doing things you're not supposed to do, you're counseled. And that to me, in my opinion, that kind of makes people run away from, telling someone their problem. Because if I'm coming to the one place, I'm hoping that I will have some sort of compassion for whatever it is I'm going through and get help. But yet, that's the place I'm met with the most judgment. So do you believe that the council culture originated from the church?
First of all, thank you, Ukeme, for organizing this thing, because I'm starting to see, it's my first time here. I don't know about other people. I'm starting to see the importance of what you're doing. People are going to watch this video and learn from everyone's input, and I'm very optimistic that it will change lives. These conversations are important to have. Okay. So, yeah, your question about counseling culture, whether it originated from the church. I'm not very informed about that, but I do know that the church has played and is still continuing to play a very important role in shaping people, because religion is terrible, right? But without religion, what would we really have? Because the right religion in that sense teaches morality, teaches you to do the right things, because I give you an example. As a Christian, you know that the Bible teaches us not to lie, to steal, to commit adultery, and so on and so forth. So how and why people get judged so badly and get canceled in that context, is beyond me, because the same Bible actually condemns judgment or that sort of behavior. You shouldn't really ostracize someone just because of their behaviors or because of their mistakes, actions. Jesus came, he didn't go hanging out with the people who were perfect at the time. He actually he came and he hung out with people who were quote unquote lost, ostracized, and in your words, canceled. You get what I'm saying? Like, remember the lady who was caught in adultery and they were trying to stone her, and they forgot about the man that she was doing it with, and stuff like that. So yeah, on one part, I can say that the church has not fully handled it well. But on the other part, I can also agree that I can say that it's not totally the fault of the church, because we human beings are opinionated. We are opinionated in nature. We are entitled. We like to have this entitlement mentality, and all of these things adds up, right, to the very bad behaviors that you're talking about. And yeah, I can pretty much say from this standpoint that the church needs to do a lot more work.
Right. Asher, you're a PK, you're a pastor's kid. So what is your own take on that?
Surprisingly enough, although you would expect like the church to be filled with like nice, loving, not judgmental people, sadly that's not always the case. There's a saying mom likes to say, like, people are accustomed to looking at the needle in someone's eye when they have a log in their own. So although they're quick to see other people's problems, but they don't take as much time to see them, to reflect and see the problems of their own. So it's something that we all need. I'm not gonna lie, I've been judgmental in the past, as just because of my human nature, but it's something that everyone can work on, and so yeah, it's something that everyone can work on.
I agree. What do you all think is, besides judgment, is a big thing that prevents people from actually coming forth and speaking up? Anyone can answer.
Being able to be confident in the fact that your story is not gonna make it up to CNN. It takes a lot of courage, especially for me. Like, I mean, I confide in my mom 100% of the time, but that's because I trust her enough and I know that my story is not going to get to CNN. And not
And
because,
not
like, you know,
Missy, you don't confide in me. Just so y'all know, Missy is my younger sister. So she and I were going to have to deal with this afterwards for that. I'm just messy. Go ahead.
I mean, I like, you know, if I'm coming to you and I'm really pouring my heart out to you, I'm not hoping that you're going to tell the next person. So if I'm going to church to maybe talk to my pastor or like talk to someone that I consider a role model or someone that I could learn from, like, I want whatever I'm saying to stay with you. I want to be confident that I can walk up to you and tell you whatever the situation is, and maybe you could advise me, or maybe you could just provide me a listening ear because I just want to rant about whatever the situation is, or maybe you can also guide me. But aside from being judged, like, I don't want to have to worry about, oh my God, like this much people are gonna hear my story, because I mean, there's some things I like to keep, but then I also like to express myself so that I don't bottle up everything and then I'm like, oh my God, like I'm about to explode.
With you a little bit, Edema.
Okay.
I just want to shake some tables. Is that okay?
Go ahead.
The right things, just so we're appear to be awesome people. By the way, we are awesome people. Before I get into that, Edema, who's your favorite?
Here we go.
We're gonna have that conversation
Answer
here.
correctly. You know how you tell a husband, be cautious of the things that he says to the wife. So answer correctly.
I mean,
Hey.
we can have that conversation on here. I think
understand.
every sibling of mine is different, and then they play a different role in my life. There are things that I'll probably go to Ukeme for. There are things that I'm gonna go to Edidium for, who is our eldest sister. There's some things I'll go to my eldest brother for, whatever the situation is. But I don't think I can tell you I have
No,
a.
you know what?
a
Don't worry
favorite.
about it. That wasn't even my main question. I was just trying to get this thing started. Look, by the way, she should run for something. She sounds politically correct. So yeah.
Who, me?
Yeah. So, okay, so back to the topic. You see, okay, man, when you texted me about the theme, or we had a conversation about the theme, and you said, "Hey, what do you think about this? Silence is golden." I had splitting how do I put it, like convictions, like on one part okay, on the other part no. So here's why I say I differ a little bit from Edema.